Welcome everyone to the CoinRock show. Today we have David on the show. We're going to be talking a lot about AI, blockchain, and telco, telecommunications, and that industry. So as always, I'm going to read the bio, the official bio that we have. It's always a few lines long, and then David, you'll expand on the bio, and then we just basically go with the flow. We'll talk about everything and anything AI, business, and telco.
Looking
So.
forward to it, Matthias.
Welcome. Yeah, let's go with the official bio. David Palmer is a digital visionary, innovator, and author. He's the chief product officer and co-founder of Pairpoint by Vodafone IoT and Web3 platform digital asset broker. He is a member of the Asia Web3 Alliance, an international speaker on Web3, and the author of a new book entitled The Business of the Metaverse, How Organizations Can Optimize the Opportunities of Web3 and AI. David is recognized as one of the top 20 people to watch in Web3 and one of the top 30 metaverse industry leaders. Most recently, he's been working on the opportunities associated with AI, Web3, Internet of Things, and fintech to power new business models for digital businesses and enterprises. That's the
Whoa.
official bio. It's a big bio.
Big bio.
The floor is yours. Tell us more.
Um, yeah. So first of all, thanks for having me on the show. It's a pleasure to be here. Um, yeah, I mean that bio is pretty big. I was wondering who that's about, right? But in truth, I've been part of the sort of journey on telco and blockchain and Web3 AI for a while now. Really, looking at this stuff when it was a hobby, when it didn't get much attention, when it was a sort of fractional, niche thing, to one now where if you look at the cryptocurrency market now, nearly 4 trillion, depending on the
Yep.
time of day you look at the market. Bitcoin over 2 trillion. Um, and that's against the telco sort of market size, the mobile market size of 1.8 trillion, right? So
Yep.
things have leveled up slightly, and I'm a visionary in the sense that I can see a version of the future, right? Based on my
Yep.
experience, based on the inputs that I have coming into to my brain, I see a version of the future, and I saw a version of the future in 2018. And that was one where we started to build a new digital infrastructure for a new digital world, right? The new
Yep.
digital world being a digital world where you had smart cities, where you had autonomous and semi-autonomous vehicles, autonomous drones, AI
Yep.
robots, and you had new asset classes where new liquidity and new opportunities could be brought in through things like asset tokenization. And the big question I was asking myself on the journey was, what does this mean for me? What
Yep.
does it mean for the industry that I'm in, and how can I best position? And that bio is just talking about my journey, right? And along the
Yep.
way on that journey, I became the co-founder of a platform in Vodafone, which is a Web3 platform called Pairpoint.
Yep.
So Pairpoint is basically, a Web3 platform which has blockchain, it has a bit of AI, and it links that to the Internet of Things and telco infrastructure. Uh, you know, um, Serving over 200 million connected devices, which we can bring on chain with our enablers.
Yep.
Um, so I co-founded that, and that came about because we wanted to look at a use case where revenues and profit could be generated that involved blockchain. Right?
Yep. Yep.
That
Yep.
was how that platform came about. Along the way, I've written a book, so the business of the metaverse, a guide
Yep.
to how Web3 and AI can be used. Obviously, the metaverse, which I'm hoping we'll touch in, is not such a cool word now, but actually,
Yep.
its function where essentially it's a gateway and an interaction point for people to be able to do more online in a more immersive way is actually still powering through, right? But
Yep.
the
Yep.
name is not used so much anymore. So I've written the book, and I'm working on some really cool use cases, working with the Asia Web3 Alliance, to really get things moving in terms of blockchain and AI in that region. And part of what I like to do is to share that vision of the future with people around the world. So I speak across all the major continents. Last year I spoke at 22 engagements. This year it will be 25 across
Nice.
the globe.
Are these more AI, more blockchain events?
Both. It's all of them because they're all converged now. Convergence is the key ingredient. But yeah, it's across the world, speaking on the convergence of AI, telco, and blockchain, right, and what that means and the solutions that we've been working on. So, and I'd like to think that part of the difference is that yes, I've got a vision of the future, and I can see that vision, and I can talk conceptually. But I think the beauty is that we're actually doing things, right? So we're a major enterprise, really that has really got a Web3 platform. We're working on real use cases with real assets in an enterprise, and I think that does tend to get some attention.
Yep. So let's talk about the metaverse. You said, I hope we'll touch on the metaverse. Let's start with that. What's your view on, of course, the metaverse hype a few years ago? Where is it now, and what about the future?
Yeah. So I think the hype was really a hangover from COVID, right? Because if we all remember where we were in 21, 22, we were all at home, no sports, no socializing, no nightclubs, no bars, no interaction. And a lot of emphasis then for all of us was, how can we have a party? How can we socialize? How can we experience a concert from our home, right? Because we're all in lockdown.
Yeah.
So that drove a lot of emphasis to do things online, which you couldn't do naturally.
Yeah.
And of course, lockdown ends. And actually, we realized that we actually like flying, right? So travel goes up. We like going to physical places and having physical interactions. The metaverse, which was sort of attracting a lot of investment. I think it was supposed to be 5 trillion market opportunity by 2030, according to McKinsey and others. Sort of didn't die a death, but there's a change of focus, right?
Yeah.
My view is that the metaverse is the new web browser, right? The new interaction point between people, content, and services. The metaverse is AI on Earth, right? The metaverse is a time machine that can allow you to go back and experience things as if you were there, right? Using the immersive capabilities. The metaverse is a means where people can live on forever, right? Because you can have your image, you can have your history, you can have your history of thinking, and then AI can then use that to project you into the future, so that your family will always be able to talk to you, or will always be able to engage with Steve Jobs, about current issues. So those are really powerful things, and of course we've got to remember that even though we're not in lockdown anymore, there are people with disabilities and people who have travel restrictions and people who don't have the finance to travel, who are essentially locked out, right? And you've got people with disabilities who would like to dance, who would like to run, who would like to experience skiing, where the metaverse can make that possible, right? It can make experiences possible irrespective of your physical condition. And there are people who want to collaborate and work in different countries where the collaborative capabilities of the metaverse allow that to happen, right? So I think we're seeing a metaverse based on needs and requirements emerging, and that's largely the industrial metaverse. But it's not, the hype has died down around just doing things online for the sake of it. And I believe that as AI grows, AI needs a body, right? AI needs it needs an environment, and as you start seeing AI replace jobs, and I think it will. At the moment, we're in the prompt phase of AI, where it's linked to a mobile phone and we ask it questions. But as AI becomes more proactive, and we start to see AI in business more, in things like call centers and service support and all the rest of it. We will want to interact with AI agents or agentic AI frameworks and AI agents in images and environments that look like the environments we're talking to now, right? And
Yep.
look like a human. And this is where the metaverse will be key to providing those environments, right? And becoming the environments and the manifestation of AI on Earth, right?
Yep.
And you have the virtual metaverse, which is a digital metaverse, and also that will be extended to the physical metaverse as we start to see human robots, become the biggest
Yep.
thing that's being produced on this earth. And then you
Yep.
have physical metaverse, and then you have you're being able to move between digital and physical for work, for essential things, being another function of the metaverse. So it will come back, but not on the hype, right? Based on
Yep.
real requirements and real value added.
Yep. What's the time frame? What do you, because the way in the previous bull cycle, the metaverse was now, right? So a few years ago. Now we're 3, 4 years later, and we haven't really seen yet a lot of corporations shifting to it. We saw some making bolder moves. What time frame do you expect this to, like, how many years are we talking when you say there's gonna be more of a convergence between the digital and physical metaverse? What are we looking at in your view?
There's a few things that need to happen, in my
Yeah.
view. I think one of the key things that needs to happen is AI in business, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of hype on AI now, and I love
Yeah.
it, right? I use it all the time, but I use it with caution. I use it
Yeah.
with caution because we know that not all the data that's feeding the AI models is accurate, right?
Yeah.
But there's a lot of hype around it. But for AI to get into business, it needs business data,
Yeah.
right? So large language models will need to have, business text going into it. You need
Yeah.
models that can, for example, take IoT data,
Yeah.
and models that will take data from business systems, train it, and produce business solutions, right? So,
Yeah.
for example, to have call center, you need specific data on callers, the sort of
Yeah.
models that they're supposed to follow, the processes, the workflows, etc. That hasn't happened. I'm expecting that to maybe take even 5, 10 years, right?
Yeah.
For
Yeah. So
for
about
business
5, 10 years
AI.
really to kind of connect. Yeah.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think so. I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
that's
Yeah. Yeah.
essential that we have AI in business. And I
Mm.
think it's also essential that we have the business transformation.
Yep.
It's interesting that I was speaking to a sort of big business off the record, right? So I won't name the business, but they were sort of saying they have the technology in place now to replace 30-40% of their workforce, but they haven't
Yep.
done it, right? So there's also transformation that needs to take place where some companies don't want to be the first. Some companies want to
Yep.
run things in parallel. So I think adding up, if you look at the technology being ready, if you look at the political and business will, if you look at the sort of wider environment, I'd say sort of 10 years before
Yep.
we really
Okay.
start to see AI take off, and that will then lead to the metaverse taking off more.
Yep. When you say making AI real in business, are we talking about day-to-day tasks? Like what is like a concrete example or examples about the connection between big business in this case, right? Not the freelancer who's doing using it for copywriting, for example, or marketing, but really like big business, big corporations, say Fortune 50 or 100. How does that look like on a day-to-day basis for them? What's your thinking?
Um, it's got to replace processes, right? It's got to
Mm,
replace solutions. Now, at the
yeah,
moment, most businesses use a combination of ERP systems, so big back-end billing,
yeah,
customer relationship management, order management
yeah,
systems, and all the data goes into those systems, right? So those, um, that sort of software is not AI; it's just
yeah, yeah,
software automation. But for AI to really start playing a role in business, number one, the data from those ERP systems need to go into a language model or
yeah,
some sort of AI model so they can be trained. But then you also need to have the facilitation for sharing of information, right?
yeah, yeah,
Information from one business will just automate what you have now. You may get a bit more efficiency, a bit more proactiveness. But if you start to have models and automation which are based on widespread data and best practice data, then you can really start to have power.
Yeah.
And that is missing at the moment completely. Right.
Yeah.
So what you're seeing is some ERP systems from some of the big companies that says, okay, yeah, we have, we can have AI for DevOps.
Yeah.
But but the data is limited. So there's a lot that needs to be done for this really to move into business in a big way. And it's also going to disrupt business, right? So
Yeah.
part of the race is, okay, how can the big enterprises sort of ditch some legacy, ditch the 2-3 years to implement something and actually move quicker.
Yep.
And then you've got the new companies with a lot of finance and venture capitals be throwing itself at AI companies, and you're going to have startups that are going to become the Ubers and Airbnbs of the AI era. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. But one thing is for sure is that AI is dependent on data.
Yep.
And if it doesn't have data, it won't be effective, right? So
Yep.
part of the challenge we have now is how do you unlock that data, and how do you unlock that data across businesses, across industry sectors, to really make the difference. I think the ability to train models and and implement things that they learn is there, but the data is not there.
So what needs to happen? Are we talking data, internal data, for example? You mentioned CRM systems. Are we talking about feeding that into? So does that basically become the layer that future decisions are made by the AI for a company? So is it company specific?
Yeah. So part of one project. So I believe that that business data will come from one of two sources primarily. One of them will be ERP systems, which we mentioned, right?
Yep.
Billing, order management, inventory.
So internal to each company, essentially.
Internal to each company. And the other big source of business data is Internet of Things, right? IoT devices.
Yeah.
Internet of Things devices.
What is
sensors.
it, by the way? Because I know people have heard, like, how do you today? It was a big thing about 10 years ago, even more actually. But what is it today exactly? Internet of Things.
So it's basically connected devices, right?
Yep.
So connected vehicles, connected drones, connected cabinets, connected sensors. Now in the world of business, everything's connected, right? So we've done in the telecoms industry a great job of not only connecting people with a smartphone, but connecting everything that moves, right? Everything that moves.
Yeah.
Pallets, boxes, trucks, trailers. Everything has a sensor on, and you call it network as a sensor. So you have sensors on everything. You have trackers on everything. You have all of these things, which means that we now live in a connected world. Not just people connected, but things connected. So those things that are connected, even personally, I go everywhere with my smartwatch, as well as my smartphone. All of that is producing data.
Yep.
Problem you have, and where Pairpoint started, is that a lot of that data is siloed. So the logistics company will produce data, right, on the trailer and the condition of and the temperature of the goods, right? But it will just use it at the moment to improve its own process, right? That data isn't available to LLMs. It isn't available cross industry, right? Just like the supermarket will use data on its buying and its and its customers and its stock inventory, etc. But at the moment, it will use that data in its internal processes, right? Where Pairpoint came in is to say, okay, can we somehow facilitate the sale of data from one device to another across silos? And if we can democratize that data across silos, then we can power this new economy of things, right? So devices across organizations can basically transact with each other autonomously, peer-to-peer, and unlock this new economy of things. When we started doing it, we didn't really think of AI. But now part of the one project I'm working on is looking at, okay, how can you on one front just facilitate the sale of data from IoT devices to AI models. And then on the other hand, once you've done that, that unlocks a whole economy of data, right, from IoT devices, which can be used to train these models and then come back and then automate the services on the other hand. So we're then looking at, okay, once we get the data in from different sectors, from different devices, from different industries and different geographies, how then can you then power services, via agentic AI agent models? So that's one of the things I'm looking at. But I do believe that there's maybe 20, 30 million IoT devices. It's growing, right? Because all business is now connected. And I believe that is going to be the number one source of business data going into AI models.
Got it. Okay. Because one of the main challenges, of course, is would you get the data to even if you look at ChatGPT or Claude, right? The answer that you ask, where does it find the answers to feed back to you, right? And at some point, I saw actually, this is a question for you. I saw probably 6 months ago that OpenAI has run out of fresh data to aggregate for these publicly available models because you need to take the data from somewhere. So, the next question is, how much of the available data has been used already for these public models?
I think the public models are pretty much. I mean, of course, we generate new data every day,
Sure,
right?
sure,
So
sure.
there's new
Yeah,
data
yeah,
generated every day. So you will get improvements in the algorithm.
yeah.
More data leads to better models and more accuracy. But I was speaking at an event, an AI event, maybe 2-3 months ago. And one of the questions I asked the audience was, how many of you trust the data on the internet?
Yeah.
The public data on the internet. Not one person put their hands up. I said,
Hmm.
well, if we don't even trust the public data on the internet, how are we going to trust AI to start doing people's jobs, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Based on public data, it's not going to happen. So, and we also saw with the recent purchase of Scale AI, how important data is, right?
Yeah.
To the model. It is the front of competition across AI companies. So yeah, the ability to provide new, ongoing, accurate IoT data to AI models
Yep.
is going to be key to unlocking AI in business, and it's going to be absolutely critical, right?
Yeah.
And I believe that data is also very valuable. Because there's no way that AI it's a prompting tool, right? It's a
Yeah.
better way of surfing the internet, right? It's a new
Yeah.
internet rather than going on an internet browser. You can just go and use your AI prompting tool, but that doesn't mean it's going to start automating business processes, right?
Yeah.
You need business data. So yeah, I believe that the work we're doing with devices, the work we've done to enable interoperability of devices across different ecosystems, the ability of devices from different businesses and different owners to interact with each other and transact data, is going to be critical to this next phase of IoT devices providing business data to AI models, which will be the basis for business automation.
Yeah. Yeah. Essentially, you're going straight to the truth, right? The actual user looking at how he or she interacts and then using that as the core, like the root of the data that is then being processed and fed back to the user.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
what's interesting, another interesting statistic is 75% of IoT data was unused. How
Sorry?
valuable is not used? It's not
Got
used
it.
at
Yeah.
all.
Yeah. Yeah.
How valuable is that 75%
Yeah.
that data now? That 75 unused data. I
Yeah.
mean, even the historical data is
Yeah.
massively important.
Yeah.
Now, I suppose one of the questions, if you take it a bit further, is how quickly will it take, right, for that data to be digested in different models and
Yeah.
trained, and then produce, trusted results? And that's the question maybe we can't answer.
Yeah.
But I do believe it's the next frontier of
Yeah.
AI in business.
About crypto, blockchain specifically, and AI, would you see those two connecting now and in the future?
Interesting, right? So one of the things that AI will do for people and businesses is give you, the ability to have, a digital or physical representation of yourself that's interacting on your behalf. That's the
Yeah.
agent model, right? So we're
Yeah.
moving from mobile phone applications, which changed the world, right? I
Yeah.
remember seeing the first iPhone in 2007. And I had no idea then that it would unleash this app, this mobile app economy that we've seen.
Revolution, really. I mean, it's
Revolutionary.
oh yeah,
Everything's on your
yeah,
phone
yeah,
now.
yeah.
But we're now moving from mobile phone to agent, right, as the
Yep,
interaction point. And you're going to have agents that will do everything on your behalf. To do that, you're going to need to delegate your identity. You're going to need to delegate payment, and then these devices will then be able to transact on your behalf, act on your behalf, etc. Now, I think that that's important because that unleashes this new autonomy, right? But it's also a new form of communication. It's a new form of payment, and
yep,
it's a new form of security. When you look at some of the characteristics you have with blockchain and Web3, and it's about cryptography
yep.
and identity and verifiable credentials and ZK proofs. All of these things essentially will allow you to delegate your identity to your agent. It will allow you to delegate your payment credential to your agent,
Mm,
and it will allow those credentials to be verified automatically across different platforms, online, offline, different geographies, automatically on your behalf. So I think
yep,
blockchain provides interoperable digital identity, real-time verification, and real-time trust, right,
yep,
between different environments. But also, when you look at crypto, what that will do is, things like stable coins allow peer-to-peer, right? So my
yep.
agent can pay your agent directly. We don't need to go through three intermediaries to do that,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh yeah.
And also it brings back a concept I had maybe 5-6 years ago called digital barter. So Matthias, you provide office space, right? You're like the equivalent of WeWork. You provide office space. So
Yep,
my agent's gonna speak with your agent, and we're gonna find office space. But I provide communications, right?
yep,
And you've got a token for office space. I've got a token for communications. Why can't I pay you with my communications token, and you pay me for communications with your office token, right? And
yep,
that way, you have what I call digital barter, which is me paying in my token, you paying in your token, and then we basically exchange the two for whatever the market values are, right?
yep,
Again, cutting out the middleman. But what this means is that where you have crypto, which is based on D-pins for storage, or D-pins for office space, or D-pins for other communication or whatever, you can have this thing where your agents can actually transact in the native token, and it can be
yep,
exchanged real time. So I think that will come, and it's all about peer-to-peer, real-time trust, peer-to-peer
yep,
transactions, tokenization. All of these things will come together to ensure that you've got a global online ecosystem which allows freedom of movement, trusted freedom of movement, real-time payment, 24/7, and verifiable of the credentials across the board.
yep, yep, yep. What's your view on like the immediacy of AI, like in the next 12 to 24 months? Because everything's moving so fast, right? So I know you mentioned 5 to 10 years from now, but what do you see some of the practical applications or the evolution in the next 12 to 24 months?
Well, it's pretty good at research, right? So I think
Yeah,
consultancies will be in
yeah,
trouble. I
yeah,
think research companies will be in trouble. I think, not any profession that's knowledge based,
yeah,
based on public knowledge, or knowledge which can be obtained publicly, will be in trouble.
yeah,
I think there was one model that took all the books and put them into its model.
yeah,
Um, so I see it extending beyond that. So at the moment, it's very general. I see it being specific. So you'll have, AI model which specializes in, tax returns, right? You
yeah,
have an AI model which specializes in legal contracts for housing and reviewing them. So I see it moving that way, where you have public information, public processes, and it gets very good at that because we'll be training it. And I see that happening pretty quickly over the next 2-3 years, and
yeah,
becoming maybe a point of competition among the AI models as they start to specialize a bit more in different areas. And then I think the other thing we should start to see in the next 2-3 years is sort of the humanoid robots.
Mm-hmm. You think that fast, 2, 3 years?
I think we'll start to see. It's like the flat screen TVs,
Sure,
right?
sure, sure. Yeah, the
You'll
first
start
few.
to see
Yeah,
some very expensive ones
yeah.
come out, which will be very limited
Interesting.
in function. But I think we'll start to see them. Right at the moment,
Yeah,
I can't see any of them. I think we'll start to see the first of them. You've
nice.
got
Yeah,
Tesla with Optimus
yeah,
and some of these guys coming through. But I think it will be for specific tasks, right? Domestic tasks
yep,
or whatever. But I think you'll see a bit of AI fueling that. But that's it, right? I
yeah,
think AI for business is maybe 5 years away, right?
yeah,
Before we start
yeah.
seeing it really well.
Do you see, you mentioned AI specific solutions. Are you thinking like, are you seeing the industry being more fragmented, like hundreds of like niche specific AI solutions, or are you seeing five big players, OpenAI, Microsoft, etc.? How are you seeing the landscape? Because
Yeah,
there's been a lot of talk about rappers. Uh, you know,
yeah.
what's OpenAI coming out with their own niche solutions too? So it's happening as we speak. So what's your
Yeah.
view?
Yeah, so I was going to say $1 million question. It's a multi-trillion-dollar question.
Yeah,
It really is. I can say what I'm seeing in terms of the facts, right? So there's
yep,
4 or 5 companies that are responsible for 90% of the investment
yeah,
in AI.
yep,
If you look at the chip manufacturers, I think we know who they are. You can count them in one hand. If
yep,
you look at the big cloud data storage providers, you can count them in one hand.
yep,
So then you've got, and then you look at the social media, big social media companies, you can count them
yep,
in one hand, right? Tech companies are trying to catch up, but you can count them with one hand. So I think what we can, I think what we can assume is that there are a few players at the moment with the funds, the investment,
yep,
and the pockets to invest in this, right? Massive mega data centers required to process AI,
yep,
massive large language models, massive investments in chips and to train those models, and of course you need brand and go to market and reach. So
yep,
there's a few companies which are taking over the public AI, and I think it will be an extension of the web browser, right? It's going to be an extension of how we navigate the internet, and there's not that
yep,
many companies that does it. Is that the world I want? Maybe not, right?
yep.
You know, AI will be much more powerful, and the companies that control AI will be a lot more powerful than the tech companies we have today,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because at least then you had room for applications and content providers and all this. Now AI will generate content. It will be the application. So it makes things a bit more difficult. One
Yeah.
of the projects I'm looking at is how you could maybe have a different approach to data centers that complements, where you
Mm.
can have many data centers that work together collectively in a distributed compute model. So essentially, you don't need only mega data centers, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And part of what would be powerful about that is that number one, it can tap into unused compute resource. The second thing is that those unused compute resources exist in developing countries who
Yep.
also will need access to their infrastructure. And the third thing is that it gives the right to play to more people, right, from
Yep.
different geographies, etc. Uh, uh, but we're one of the few people looking at that at the moment,
Yeah.
and how that can happen. So I suppose the big future I see at the moment is these 4 or 5 big companies dominating, right, and going to market first, powered
Yep.
by, supported by their governments, and dominating the whole AI race. I still see in that world that there will be specialist wrappers and applications and
Yep.
agents that will be programmed based on this, which will still leave room for others and content providers to play a role. What I'd like to see is more competition
Yep.
and more
Yep.
democratization of AI. But as I said, there's only a few entities even looking at that model at the
Yep.
moment.
What's your take on governments? You mentioned governments. Um, there's a lot of talk about, of course, controlling AI, legislation. But when you think about selfishly what governments would be doing behind closed doors. The question is, why would you impose restrictions on your own software that would, or technology that could give you an advantage? So it is a very, I think it's one of the biggest questions, but I'm curious to hear you, because you talk about this every day. You're in touch with people talking about this every day. What's your view on how much should or should not governments uh, involve themselves with AI and regulation, etc.?
It comes back to the point, which is intellectual property, trademarks, and
Yep.
ownership of data. And AI uses data, right? It uses public data.
Yep.
There's IP issues and different things associated with it. Now, from my point of view, I believe that governments will support the quickest route from A to B with AI, because it
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
it is the future. It's critical to defense. It's critical to economies. It's critical to employment. It's critical to balance payments. It's critical to a number of things that will position countries to maintain their positions and grow. So what you're seeing is that all of the governments are actively incentivizing, AI development and innovation,
Yep.
which they should be. I
Yep.
understand that. The question then is, where governments really need to earn their money is about managing the transformation. What is very clear is that certain professions, jobs, and tasks, will be, disintermediated by
Yep.
AI,
Yep.
right? It would fundamentally change our education system.
Yep.
What we should be, focusing our education system on, and governments need to manage that transition. To reallocate resources and reallocate people and,
Yep.
and 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 change the education system. I'm not seeing as much information or emphasis on that or investment in that area. And to an extent, you could argue that we're walking blind, right? We're still investing in school
Yep.
buildings. We're still, we haven't looked at where this is going in a lot of countries.
Yep.
And I believe that that's the role they need to really play. And yeah, AI will be dependent on data. Do we need to update our IP laws and how data is compensated, and the models for people and their data and how they're compensated? So these are the areas where I think governments can play a role.
Yep.
But I think that if we look at it, they're just going to encourage as much innovation and progress and growth in AI as possible at the moment. But there is a cost, and I think
Yep.
they will earn their value by managing this transition.
Yep. Two last questions. One is directly related to this, and the other one is more your view on AI, but also not AI. What do you think of when it comes specifically to governments and planning for the future? Let's talk about UBI, universal basic income. What happens when you have millions, in some countries, tens of millions of people replaced, essentially, right? To put it crudely, what happens? What would you, what are the
Great,
scenarios?
great point. It's interesting. AI robots. So AI isn't just digital,
Yeah.
right? AI robots will be AI's physical manifestation on Earth, and I think
Yeah.
we missed that point. Humanoid robots will be on building sites. They'll be in retail. They'll be in hospitality.
Yeah.
We already see car robots,
Yeah.
ready to drive. Tesla, Waymo. I took my first Waymo in April. Right, it was
Yeah.
a massive experience just getting, and this thing's driving around, and that's only the beginning.
Yeah.
Trucks, warehouses. We're already seeing Amazon and some of the things they're doing with warehouses, which can do
Yeah.
70% of things that people could do. So the advance of robots in business, and also in public facing business in
Yeah.
shops and all these areas is coming, and that will displace a lot of people, right? And what it does, it changes the economic model, because at the
Yeah.
moment, business locates where there's cheap labor. And you have the economic laws of absolute and comparative advantage.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of focus, and with some of the stuff in the US, this is being rebalanced now, but a lot
Yeah.
of focus on businesses locating where there's cheap labor and favorable regulation. However, if robots are doing the work,
Yeah.
actually it changes the economic model from a model which is looking for cheap labor
Yeah.
to one which is looking for the ability to invest in capital, i.e.,
Yeah.
AI robot capital,
Yeah.
and that can be done anywhere, right? So it will change where businesses locate. It will decimate a lot of cheap labor industries,
Yeah.
and it will lead to a lot of displacement, right? Now, the fact is, this is going to happen, right? It's like
Yeah.
the blacksmith losing his job when we move from horse and cart
Host the
to
car. Yeah.
automobiles. Yeah. So it's going to happen, and the question is, what do we do about it? How do we manage it? Now, I don't think the answer is going to be that we just everybody stays at home, the robots and AI does everything, and we sit back.
Yeah.
That's not who we are as people. Part of your happiness comes from purpose, right?
Yeah.
And being in purpose and finding your position and where you can add value. And the question is, where can we add value? So things like visionaries, right?
Yep.
Ideation, people who can, people who find enterprise, entrepreneurs who find a way of using resources to make new opportunities and
Yep.
new business become the people who are most valuable, right? AI experts become the people who are most valuable. Professions like coding, right? Computer software development. That from what we're hearing will be almost all AI going
Yep.
forwards.
Yep.
So it will change, right? We're going to go through a massive transformation, not just socioeconomic, but also geographic, as we move from the low-wage economies to the industrial AI robot economies.
Yep.
And this is where we need to find equilibrium, and we need to find a way of people redistributing themselves and finding new purpose. Now, my personal view is that people should see themselves as businesses. No longer should they be looking for employment, which is something to do as their primary source of income, but they should be looking for seeing themselves as a business and saying, okay, how can I monetize my data? How can I create content? How can I create ideas? How can I collaborate with other people and AI to make new opportunities? And that needs to be the focus, right? Not just of our business landscape, change from employment to business, but also in terms of our education, right? And how we're teaching people, So there's a lot to do. And this is why maybe it's a good thing we're looking at 5 to 10 years, right, before this really starts to take place, because there's a lot of transformation.
Yeah. Last question. What are you the most excited about? It could be AI, it could be something else, but for the next, let's say 1 to 3 years.
So I'm excited about autonomous vehicles, right? I'm really excited. So I'm going to buy one now.
Nice.
I'm really, really excited because I've just decided I want to drive when I want to drive, right? And I can have the autonomous vehicle. Yes, you have to keep your hands on it, but it can take a lot of the pressure from you. So I'm excited about that. I'm excited about AI robots. I'm excited about where Bitcoin and cryptocurrency can go. And I'm excited about innovation, right? What happens when you start linking fintech, things like open banking AIs, APIs with wallets, with faster telco infrastructure, with AI, with new data from Internet of Things, putting all those things together with tokenized real world asset financing. You put all those things together in a mix. I'm excited about what will come out of it. So those are the sort of things that are keeping me up at night, that I'm excited about. And I think the other thing is like the reinvention of the metaverse, but in a very targeted way, which will allow me to do things digitally, which previously I could only do if I was physically there. I believe that as an equalizer, resetting the boundaries of possibilities. It'd be interesting to see how removing geography, which the metaverse does, can give people from developing countries a chance to play in business and employment.
Yep. Very cool. That's it. I mean, I think we covered. This was heavy on AI. I think the audience will really like it because AI is everywhere now. It's impossible to go a single day just without seeing an AI headline. Thank you for sharing your knowledge about it. Definitely want to have you back on the show when we have, a new breakthrough, probably in the next like 9 months.
For
The
sure.
space is moving so fast. So thank you for being on the show, David. We'll link all the resources around. Any last closing words?
No, just thanks for having me. I think we are in a world where everything is changing weekly,
Yeah.
monthly, not yearly, right? So I think we're all learning from each other. I've got a perspective, you've got a perspective. Some of the people who are listening to this podcast will have a perspective.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to all of you sharing your perspectives with me on social media, LinkedIn, Telegram,
Yeah.
whatever you can do. I'm very, very interested in hearing what's happening in different geographies, different industries, different professions
Yeah.
as,
Very
as we
cool.
move forward. Thank
Thank
you.
you, David. Um, we'll link everything around this episode. If you're watching the replay, depending on where you're watching it, you'll see everything. So connect with David. Thank you for being on the show. Thank you for watching, and we'll talk to you next time.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you. Hey, thanks for watching. If you got value from this episode, you're going to love what's coming next. So subscribe now. We drop new episodes and videos several times a week featuring power players, market movers, and insiders from the financial world. And if you want access to deals and insights we only share privately, hit the links in the description and we'll see you on the next show.